I'd done a lot of things. I'd boxed for 10 years on and off. I'd done a bit of MMA. I'd been a world junior champion in powerlifting. I'd done a degree in sports science. I'd become a certified strength and conditioning specialist. And really, if you accumulate all those things together, the RKC represents different parts of all of it. It's relevant to fighting arts, it's relevant to strength and conditioning, and it was easily the equal of all those things, if not, surpassed them in many ways.
I suppose if I'm trying to be very, very specific about why I wanted to do the RKC, it was because I was blown away by the whole thing. I mean, when I first came to Centaur, which was a few years ago, I was asked to hold a stopwatch, and my brother says to me, "Damien, time me here." And he lifted this very, very strange object. It was like a cannonball with a handle. And I thought, "Oh, what is that?" And he says, "No, it's a kettlebell." I didn't know what a kettlebell was. I thought a kettlebell was something you tied around a cow's neck. I didn't know what a kettlebell was. So I timed him. And little did I know what he was doing he was actually training for the snatch test. And he was doing this about 2 weeks before going over. And he was going over to Italy to do it in 2010. And so I just kind of accompanied him because, I wanted to keep his head straight. I knew he told me it was going to be intense. He told me it was going to be very, very hard, very difficult. I had absolutely no sense of what the RKC was about at that stage.
I prepared for it probably the wrong way. I had been studying Dragon Door and the RKC for maybe 8 years. I'd read all the books, I'd seen all the DVDs, I'd read all the articles, and I thought that I knew what I was doing before I did it. And I went over to Italy. Nobody spoke the language. That was taught in English, but the snatch test, for example, was being counted for me in Italian. There was a lot of challenges. I only really prepared for it for about 2 weeks, but I was lucky because I came from a martial arts and powerlifting background, and I had a lot of physical strength. And if it wasn't for that, there's no way I would have got through it, because it was a real mountain to climb. It was very tough, but at the same time, because it was tough, it was rewarding.
But when I got to the RKC, when I actually seen this physical spectacle of the RKC, when I seen people who had conditioned themselves for months, to get themselves where they felt they could take on and become an RKC, it was just an incredible thing. I was blown away by it, absolutely knocked for six, completely and totally. While Paul was chatting with Pavel and all the rest of them, I was chatting with John, and I thought to myself, you know what, John DeCane, I think we can do this in Ireland. I think we can do this. This is one of the most spectacular things I've seen in health and fitness. I've never seen anything like this.
Well, for me, one of the biggest things about going to the RKC the first time was actually getting the opportunity to meet Pavel for the first time. I studied the books and the DVDs and was a big fan of DragonDoor.com and everything hardstyle for maybe a period of 8 years at that point.
When I kind of first met Pavel, I didn't really know who Pavel was. Paul had kind of expressed to me in his own terms how important Pavel was to him in his own personal development. But to me, I didn't know who Pavel was. So when I went to the RKC the first time with Paul and I accompanied him, I met Pavel. I could see he was quite a charismatic character, but I never really knew who he was. The second time I went, when I had trained for the RKC and I knew what the RKC was all about, I was kind of dumbstruck. I was in awe.
And so to actually finally meet the man who had authored all these books that I'd learned a lot from and had learned to utilise in my own life and my own business, it was really great, just to actually hear it from the horse's mouth, so to speak, and be taught hands-on by, in my opinion, the #1 kettlebell expert in the world. And he's more than just a kettlebell teacher.
I was expecting our conversations to revolve around, lifting kettlebells, maybe deadlifting, barbell work, all of that type of stuff. We didn't once talk about that, hardly. We kind of talked about the current affairs in Ireland. We were talking about here. We weren't even talking about kettlebells. So yeah, that was kind of fun, to be honest. It took me off my guard a wee bit. But yeah, Pavel's a man for all seasons.
I mean, I'm a strength and conditioning specialist. You go to the RKC and you're not just taught about kettlebells, you're taught about how kettlebells apply to the bigger picture, to martial arts, to strength and conditioning for athletes. It's all inherent. it's in between the lines, because it's not just about the implement, it's about the principles. It's about the principles behind the implement. It's about the curriculum of the school. It's a school of strength, it truly is. And you know, I was a stronger man for having went to the RKC the first time. And if there's anybody who has any aspirations about becoming anything within the fitness industry and being the best that they can be, then I feel it's almost priority for them to do the RKC. You know, it's definitely one of the most worthwhile things, if not the most worthwhile thing that I've ever done within the industry. It's one of the most pragmatically useful things that you'll ever do. So if you think about, you know, you look at the expense and you think, oh, you know, it's a bit dear, you get what you pay for. It's dear, but you know, it's not that dear when you think about how much money that you actually make back from it. In my honest opinion, well, in my direct practical experience, it pays for itself very quickly.
I thought, I need to do this. This is something I need to do myself as well. So I trained for it. I trained for about maybe 4 or 5 months of intense training. And before that, I did some technique work as well. And I did it again in Italy, in Udine. I was 40. I was feeling my age. I was trying to get back into shape again. And the RKC gave me a massive focus. It gave me a massive focus in terms of training, in terms of setting goals, and also that big achievement at the end, becoming an RKC. And Pavel Satslouny, the guy who invented it all, the source of the RKC system, handed me my black t-shirt, so what could be better than that?
It was much tougher for me because you know, I went in with my eyes closed. Now you don't have to do that. You can come here, you can learn the right way, and it can actually be a comfortable experience if you're properly prepared for it. You know, myself and my brother have prepared a few RKCs, you know, a good handful of them for the last one. So we've got a good success rate and it's building. So you know, with the passage of time, I should say, it's getting easier to help people prepare for what is a very tough event.
The RKC is a school of strength, and you are the recipient of all of that knowledge. You know, people think of Pavel as the main man. Pavel is the main man. He's the chief instructor. But there are so many other voices in the RKC system. There's so many other personalities, great personalities, key people in the world of strength conditioning that are in the RKC School of Strength. You have people like Dave Whitley, you have people like Greg Cook, Brett Jones, Andrew DeCane, you know, Doug Nepodol. Just the list is endless. Peter Lakatosh. The list is endless. It goes on and on and on and on. And they're the best at what they do. And so you're the recipient of all of this knowledge.
It's the very pinnacle of kettlebell instruction. It's the gold standard the world over. It's a world-renowned black belt. Some people call it the black belt in kettlebell lifting. And it's, you know, it's well worth the money. It's well worth the time investment.